The presenting sponsor of Upmarket is Aereo, the best place to grow and manage your real estate media business online at aereo.com. That's ARYEO.com. Coming to you from the makeshift Upmarket studio in the beautiful Ojai Valley of Southern California, this is Upmarket, a podcast about the business of real estate photography and media. My name is Reed Fish. I am the CEO and a co-founder of Upmarket Media. My other co-founder, Mark Corcoran, not here today. Chelsea, producing from afar. Actually, I'm recording this like kind of late at night, so Chelsea's probably asleep right now. I know she's an early riser, so I'm sure she's sleeping. But before we get into it, I did want to mention PMRE is coming up, the Photography and Media for Real Estate Conference in Las Vegas, early November. Come on, we've been talking about it a lot, but guess what? We still have a promo code. It's Upmarket 75. If you want to go to PMRE Conference, you can get $75 off the price. So why wouldn't you do that? You know what $75 can get you in Las Vegas? So much stuff. So go to PMREconference.com and use the code Upmarket75 when you register. And you want to register because not only are there great panelists, great speakers, all that stuff, it's a great, wonderful time to network with your peers. You're going to learn so much just by meeting people and talking with people. But also, there's a lot of other opportunities to learn from the stage. And we have one of the speakers here on the podcast today. It's Darryl Stringer, who is a business coach specializing in in real estate photography and architectural photography. He's coming to us from Brisbane, Australia. Darryl, thank you so much for being here. And I think when I was looking at what you're going to be doing at the conference, one thing stood out to me. You're actually going to be offering mini coaching sessions for people. And so these are like half-hour sessions that you're going to do the couple days leading up to the conference. And here's what I want to do, if it's okay with you. I want a coaching session right here on Upmarket Podcast. Are you up for it?
Let's go. Sure.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. All right. So coach me. What do I need?
Okay. So, we could just sort of talk about anything at all, but we want to be really specific to what
of course
you're looking for. So my first question then would be, what would you like to focus on? Like what's top of mind for you right now?
I think I'm going to go with the thing that we've been, we've been struggling with a couple of things this year. And one of them is just the lack of inventory, but that's, I think, market-based. And so we've been continually kind of expanding our client base. And so I think that's been, I feel pretty good about that. But the one thing that we've really been trying to do is expand our territory, like our physical territory where we're existing, so that we're not so focused in where we are in Western Ventura County, where we want to break up into Eastern Ventura County, maybe up into Santa Barbara, into some other places. So I think that's kind of the thing that's been on my mind of, how do we crack that nut?
Okay. So I guess then it would be, well, what would you like to get out of this particular coaching session? Because that can be like what you're talking about. It's a really big goal and that's really good. But how will we get to the end of what we're going to talk about right now? And you go, yep, that was great. We got what we wanted. I don't know if you could just solve the problem for me. I think that's what that's what I'm looking for. Okay. So let's do it. I wish those problems could be solved in 30 minutes. And I think that's important to note is that there's a lot of planning that goes into that and then a lot of action that goes into that. So, the first thing that you would need to make sure is that you have capacity to be able to sort of expand into those other spaces. So do you have a team that can fulfill that extra territory in those regions?
Yeah, we do have a team, and we've lost the, we just had someone quit on us recently. And what we've actually done is we've hired people in the areas that we want to expand into. But then those people, once they started working for us, moved to our home base just kind of because, they're like, now that I'm working, now I can move to Ventura, which is what I always wanted, which is like half an hour away. And we're like, well, we hired you because you were up in this other area. So, but we still, we just have to then pay mileage or whatever. So we can still service those areas. And we do have extra capacity right now in terms of what we can handle for sure.
Okay. Okay. So I guess then the next part would be, what have you done so far in terms of trying to get some clients in there, or trying to at least build some connections in those new markets?
We have done, my business partner, Mark, and I, who I know, Mark, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you worked with him a long time ago when he first started his business. This is what he was telling me. Is that we've done some in-person stuff. And let's right now, for the sake of this podcast, let's focus on Eastern Ventura County. Mark and I have gone up and done the in-person networking things. We've sponsored, realtor events. We've done all those types of things, and really just kind of shaking hands. And we've done some brokerage presentations up there where we've gone to different brokerages and done our thing. And we have kind of a preferred vendor deal with a brokerage in Ventura County that has a lot of offices up there. So we've been able to kind of make some inroads there, but even that is still not where we want it to be, because it's not an exclusive agreement. It's just like, oh, use up, we suggest you use Upmarket Media, and we've certainly gotten some business from it, but it's not, not as much as we would hope at this point.
Okay. So what opportunities have you got sort of up in the air at the moment? So it's just about making sure then, have you got enough things going on where you're building relationships and things that might turn into some really good clients? Are you building those constantly?
More or less, I feel like we are. I mean, and it's in a way, it's kind of similar to how Mark and I each grew our businesses in the first place. When we were individual, it was more word of mouth, and you get that one realtor, and then people see it, and so I think we've done those brokers presentations, and then we've gotten a few clients here and there, and then I think it will, as we go, we will be getting more and more clients there, but it's just, how do we accelerate that process?
Okay. Do you know why then they're not choosing you? Why? Are there reasons? Is it around pricing, availability, services offered? Do they just not quite understand the value you bring?
I think they're intimidated by how awesome we are.
I could see that.
Right. I think my gut is that they have established relationships with photographers already. Okay. So I think it's a little hard to break in, and I think we probably are more expensive than some, and we're not, not as expensive as others. And I think in Ventura County, and especially since Mark and I came together in Western Ventura County, we are, the top dogs, and, we're, so we do of course face competition, but, our value is pretty apparent. I think to people, because we're the only people kind of doing what, all the stuff that we can do. So up there, I think it's a little, there's just those entrenched relationships. So, and we've been focusing on that for the last 6 to 9 months. And, started kind of, testing the waters up there like a year ago, I would say. So,
Okay. So it sounds like then trying to replicate those entrenched relationships would be perhaps the opportunity for you. Are you creating dedicated social media content for agents in those markets where it kind of speaks, yes, we're local, we understand you guys up here, we're not just the outsiders trying to crack in?
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is we can always say we're Ventura County real estate. We're Ventura County real estate. And they are Ventura County. It's just, but there's and just geographically though, there's kind of a divide. There's like a big, an 8-mile grade that you got to go up to get up there. So there's a little bit of a physical barrier, which creates then kind of a social barrier. And so I think when we are marketing, we are talking about Ventura County. And then when we do have big shoots up there or whatever, we're always featuring those in our social media, and we're making sure that we touch on that. And then we recently started a podcast devoted to Ventura County real estate with a realtor audience in mind. And so far, because so many of our connections are West Ventura County, that's who we've kind of had on the podcast and really been speaking to that, because that's really our expertise. But part of the goal of that podcast is to really be able to get some audience up there as well. And so I want to start featuring guests from up there and have them share it on social media and all that. I think we're 5 episodes in. So I think just naturally I've wanted to just kind of get our sea legs with the podcast and kind of build a base here, and then kind of probably in the fall start pushing it up there as well.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. It can take time to build those new relationships, but I think focusing on, like it sounds like, just being much more local and around there, that sounds like the kind of thing that you're doing. I love what you're doing there with the podcast. That sounds really smart. Are there, and maybe you've done this already, are there like some events or something where you can have a stronger physical presence in some of those areas? We've
done those. And I think right now, I think we're a little burned out on those, because you feel like, whenever we've gone, it's just been like the dregs agents. It's just the ones who are there for the free food, and, the top producers just aren't there. And so it's just felt a little like we're banging our heads against the wall and like, why are we doing this? Where I think we sponsored, like, we have the caravan where all the, agents meet up. They have a little meeting before they go out and see the new houses on the market each week. And we sponsored one of those, and Mark went up there and he's like, yeah, there were 6 agents, and they weren't the right people. And so you're just like, okay, this is not what we need to be doing. It's a waste of our time, because it spends, 3 hours, 4 hours going to do that. And, you're not making a connection at all.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've done a lot of good things. We
have, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. You've done a lot of good things that I would certainly go with. And so I guess the choices there are, can you ramp that up or persist with that? So how long can you stay? Yeah. Like, what are you prepared to put into this if you're thinking maybe this is just going to be a hard nut to crack and it's going to take a little bit more work? On the flip side, do you get to a point where maybe it's now or soon where you count your losses and go, okay, maybe that market is not one that we are going to put too much energy into, and you invest those resources that you've got into areas that are easier perhaps to move into. It's sort of weighing that up.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think those are good things to think about. And we have a dedicated business coach of our own too, who doesn't specialize in, photography or anything, but, his point is always like, it's not, you got to go 10 times. It's not, you can't just go twice to these networking events and expect to get, to get a ton of business. And so, and I think, we're definitely inclined to just kind of keep at it and just keep showing our faces and doing that. But, we are a little bit, just geographically, because we're on the coast and whatever, we can either go north into Santa Barbara, or we can kind of go south into East Ventura County is actually kind of south of us. So, we can go that way towards LA, and those are our 2 options. And Santa Barbara is, just as tough of a nut to crack. And it's actually harder for us to get to, just because there's more traffic, and it's logistically, it's actually harder for us to shoot up there. So, if we are going to expand physical territory, unless it's somewhere that's actually completely remote from us, I mean, it's really the only place we can go.
Okay.
So I think we have to continue to try.
Yeah.
In other words.
Yep. And that's totally valid. I guess it then comes back to, what is it that you're trying to achieve overall? So what is it that you want in terms of a successful business?
Right.
Like, what is the reason for wanting to expand? Is that something that is integral to what you're trying to achieve? Or is it just, well, that's what everyone does, isn't it? Like, we all try to expand, but maybe you don't. So maybe there are some choices there around.
These are large questions you're making me think about. I don't, I have to look into my soul for that. I don't know. That's that's a big ask, Darryl. That's a big ask. I think that, it is a little bit, that's what everyone does, but it's also like, well, we, kind of need to make more money from our business,
Okay.
It's like, Mark and I, both have, kids, and we're going to, you're looking down the barrel at college and everything else. And you're like, oh, we gotta make some more money. And,
Sure.
I think we have, a pretty healthy market share in our area, and it's hard, I'm sure we can increase it, but it becomes diminishing returns, because you're never going to have 100%. You're never going to have even 50%. But, we are, I think we're the top. And so, we can, it just feels like, it's harder for us to get a new client in our area in a way, because we're working with so many of the top agents.
Okay.
So I think that it's just, to meet our financial goals, it feels like, we have some other stuff that we have, we have this other side of our business doing podcasts and our course, all these other things that, is a bit diversifying. But I think for the core, like real estate photography business, it kind of does seem like the way to go.
Okay.
I think.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's just sort of thinking through how do you structure things. I guess the other thing to look at would be, is there scope to increase your average order value locally? So can you do more to perhaps like move up from, let's say it's an average of $300 per shoot. Can you wiggle things to get that to an average of $350 per shoot, whether with new services or increased prices or greater efficiencies within the business?
Right. Well, I think we can, we raised prices at the beginning of the year. We just actually did another mini little price, rise up. We're always trying to add new products. And, I feel like we are pretty aggressive with that. And like,
cool.
And we are, price wise, I think we aim to be high middle. We don't want to be the most expensive, but we definitely don't want to be the least expensive. And I think we're kind of in that sweet spot right now.
Why don't you want to be the most expensive?
Good question. I guess we've kind of just thought that that's where our clients are,
Okay.
that we are not positioning ourselves as luxury, because we're not that interested in shooting, the 10, 15, $20 million houses. We're not in it for that. We much prefer the 3-bedroom, 2-bath tract house that someone does a full package on. Where they're doing video, 3D photos, aerials, that's really where the stuff that we want to do more of, because we can send our staff to do it. Where it's the luxury stuff, the expectation from the client is that, well, it's Mark or Reed is going to be there. And, and part of our goals, which I should tell you, is like, I recently just had to start shooting again because we lost some, of our staff, but I hadn't been shooting for like the last 6 to 9 months. And I have zero interest in shooting real estate photography. I much prefer, the business side of it. And I think Mark still enjoys shooting, but I think he would like to dial back a bit too. So that's part of the goals of our business.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's just thinking about, you're sort of saying that you're the big kahuna in your local market, and whether you need to align your pricing with that, or maybe there's scope to align a sub-brand along those sort of higher market lines.
Like, what do you mean? So like make a luxury side and then make kind of a,
like
people side?
Like, how Toyota has the Lexus brand.
Right.
So can you make a Lexus version of what you do, where you only target that higher end, and you just have people dedicated for that side of things, while, you can still keep those lower price stuff for the other things. And so therefore you're creating specialist packages that address the wants and desires of the luxury end of the market, if that's the area that you're sort of missing out on at the moment, and can sort of maximize something there.
That's an interesting idea. I don't know. We'll discuss that. I'll discuss that with Mark.
Sure. And I guess then the other one would be, is there scope for you in any other industries, or is that something you have tried or do or don't want?
Our business coach is always honest. How can you diversify your business? And we're both a little bit like, oh my God, it's just, that's not where we want to go, just because it feels like, whenever we've done photography or video for other industries, it just is a pain. And I think because we're also, Mark and I want to step back from shooting, it's hard to to send our team out to do that stuff. And that's part of it, right? Is we're kind of all in on the real estate side. And so therefore, if we are, then our diversification is actually just expanding, to get more clients. That insulates us from slowdowns in the market rather than, pivoting to something else.
Yeah, sure. And that's totally, absolutely valid. No, that sounds good. I mean, I think it is good to diversify. So I think others that you've spoken to are really wise there, because it opens you up in case the real estate market slips. You've still got that scope there, but it's not something you have to do. I guess then we're sort of then back to where we started in terms of persisting in continuing to build those relationships. It might be a hard slog, but it just might be something to continue to do what you're doing, which sounds really good, and just try to ramp up that visibility in those local markets.
And do you have specific suggestions on things that you've seen other businesses, succeed in how they're cracking into new markets like that?
It's a matter of, I think, knowing the market. So understanding where are those agents in those areas, where are their eyes? What are they seeing? Are they all active on Instagram? Are they going along to the local realtor association events? Are they in BNI? Are they, do they just wait for someone to come by with donuts, and is that all they're sort of shopping for at their office? Know your market and then ramp up that in a way that you can scale.
Yeah, I mean, that's that, and I think that's kind of what why it's been a little bit vexing is maybe the wrong word, is because I do feel like we have been doing the right things, but it just it's just again, doubling down on those things and okay, we have the podcast now. Let's really try to make it appeal more to that area, not just the area where we're comfortable in.
Yeah, that's right. That's good.
And I think you go in with the best of intentions, and then, it's just hard, as with anything in life, it's just hard to sustain it. And so when and for me to get up to those networking events, it's usually over an hour drive. And it's just after you do that 5 times, you're like, why am I doing this? We're not even getting any, so it's really easy to get frustrated by it.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It may be possible, it may not be, maybe more than possible, but it may be doable, to define when is there a point where you will cut your losses in those areas. Right. So maybe it's based on a timeline. Maybe you say, all right, let's give it another 12 months and then we'll pull out. It's based on, okay, well, let's make sure we get a certain number of jobs out of there, or we're going to pull out. So it's just making sure that you've got an out, because otherwise you can persist with it. It's that loss of that thing of diminishing returns.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing is I don't feel like we'd have to, ever pull out of it, because it's close enough that we can send people up there. It's just a matter of, we just would, stop marketing, to those people. And it's and I feel like for instance, in Santa Barbara, we don't really market up there, but we still, we get clients up there, and, not as much, but, word of mouth spreads. One thing that we've thought of, and I'm wondering, and it feels like maybe our company's just a little still on the smaller side, but of actually hiring a dedicated salesperson who can go to these kind of networking things and kind of make the rounds all the time. Have you seen, is that something that with clients you've worked with that you've seen a bit of, and how's that worked out?
Mostly I see it in terms of online engagement. That was just been so far for a lot of people. That's an easy thing, as you found. It's hard to have someone, unless they're local, doing that traveling and so forth. Right. But that does sound like a really smart way to go about it. If you can make the numbers work for you, that would make a lot of sense. Yeah, I can see that really working very well. Maybe you have some kind of thing set up where it's an incentive program or something based on number of sales, or maybe it's just a flat wage and everybody wins. But that's going to be a pretty smart investment.
Good. All right. I think we'll. Okay. I'm going to double down. We're going to double down. We're not pulling out. So I think, but I think this is good. This makes me feel like we're doing the right thing. So
you should.
So I appreciate that. Okay. God, this podcast is working out really well for me. I'm really liking this. So we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna have our social media sidebar with Darryl, and then we're gonna come back, and Darryl's gonna talk about what he's gonna talk about at PMRE, and I think that's gonna be, these concepts are gonna be helpful to all of us in terms of helping to build our business. And then, man, this guy. He's already told me he's got a bunch of action items. So we're going to choose like the best one to share with the audience, and we'll be back in just a second. Aereo has been rolling out new stuff all summer long. So many new things in addition to some big other news, but so many on the product side. So many new enhancements. We got mileage, we got payroll, we got all this kind of stuff you can do. And I know they're actually rolling out a bunch of new stuff coming this fall as well. We just beta tested a new interface for the listing and the order pages. We're going to kind of mush all those together, and it's going to be so nice. Chelsea did a walkthrough the other day, and she is not here, but she did tell me it was pretty great. And so we're excited about that. So look, Aereo has all the features that you need to help your real estate media business thrive. We love it, still using it. Everyone should be. And if you want to try it out and you're a new user, you can get 15 free bonus listings. Oh my goodness, so many bonus listings. Go to Aereo.com, use the code Upmarket, and every new user gets 15 bonus listings. Fall is in the air, finally. Been a long, hot summer. So you know what that means. It's time to break out the pumpkin spice floor plans. Oh, baby. Second floor app, that's where we can get all kinds of floor plans. And I think pumpkin spice is probably going to be on the menu this fall. I'm excited for that. Everyone everywhere always talking about floor plans. It is the number one thing that realtors are now coming to, I think, expect. In all their media and the stuff that they put out there. So one great way that you can get in and you can start providing low cost, quick floor plans for your clients. The second floor app. I mean, look, they have a really spiffy app. You just walk through and instantaneously you can get a finished floor plan to your realtor. You don't even have to go home and upload it. This technology is so impressive. It's so great. If you want to give it a try, you can get a free month if you go to secondfloorapp.com/upmarket. Oh man, you get a free month and you can do all sorts of floor plans. It's so low cost, so efficient. You are going to love Second Floor App. All right, social media sidebar. We are Upmarket Pod across, the big ones. Facebook. That's not a big one. Come on, it's all about Instagram. We're not even on. I keep saying we're going to be on TikTok. We're not on TikTok yet. But guess what? Action item accomplished. I am on LinkedIn now. Personally, finally, I'm on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. So far, it's horrendous. What a terrible, terrible social network LinkedIn is. I have not seen any value whatsoever yet. So please get on there. Show me what the value is. The interface looks like it's 2007. Very disappointing. I'm used to the slick social networks. So, I don't know. Anyway, but follow us Upmarket Pod. And guys, please, would you just finally, would you just subscribe to this show? Give us a 5-star rating. Write us a review. Those things you can help your buddies out here at Upmarket Pod. And Darryl, I know you're going to be doing all those things. You're going to rush out right after this podcast. You're going to rate, review, subscribe, all those things, of course. But in the meantime, if someone wants to see you on social media, where are they going to find you? And your website as well.
Yeah, so on all the socials, I'm at Build a Photo Business.
Oh, so nice.
Just the same everywhere. And for the website is easybuildaphotographybusiness.com.
Okay. And all right. And so then in Australia, do you have any like weird social media things where you use like some platform that we've never heard of, or you just on all the big ones that's the same in the States?
Yeah, we pretty much copy the US in that way. We don't have anything special.
Oh, all right. Well, sorry. I thought there was maybe some, down under social network, but I guess not. And so what for your business? And so you're really a coach. So do you do real estate photography yourself at all?
I did. So I was shooting all the time from 1998 to 2015.
Okay. Wow.
So I did 17 years running my own business, having multiple team members, working all over the place, working all of that. Sold the business in 2015 and moved into this because I really enjoy the training and the support. That's something I love. I love doing.
Right. Well, so then what's your social media strategy? I mean, what are you posting and like how often are you posting, and are you finding that that's, it helps really drive business for you?
Yeah, so I'm trying to post at least once a day. Sometimes I'll ramp up more than that, but trying to post at least once a day, trying to be as helpful as I can. So one thing I see from a lot of photographers is that it can be very self-promotional,
right? Which
isn't really that exciting for other people. We think it's great for us, but other people see it time and time again, and it's like, and that's why they don't engage with those posts. So I try to make the vast majority of mine something that someone can see and go, hey, that was actually helpful. And that way it sort of benefits them, and hopefully that they sort of stick around and continue to see my stuff. But I mean, even if they don't, I consider that a win if I've been able to somehow help and encourage and give something to a photographer who was, struggling a little bit with the business side of things.
Right. Well, I think that's a really good point. And I think that's something we can all take to heart that and we have talked about that a bit of how are you providing value to your followers, right? And the more value you can bring, the more, people are going to want to follow you. And we do kind of trumpet like, oh, look at this new listing, look at these cool photos we did. And I do think that actually does, if for, a realtor audience, that does kind of bring some value because they are seeing what the new stuff that's on the market. They are, getting, and for your clients, it is showing them to, showing their new listing off to, a large audience. So I think that is helpful. But, I think we probably could be better at, giving out tips for, business tips to realtors. And I think, and that's really what's driven our new podcast, which is Real VC. If anyone wants to listen to it, if you really want to have a deep dive into Ventura County real estate, but it's probably more instructive to say, hey, this is maybe something you could think about doing in your own market, making a podcast designed for your clients. But that's where we're really trying to bring value. Where it's kind of like, we're coming in and really, trying to give business tips, just trying to talk about the things. And, oh, by the way, it's produced by Upmarket Media and it's hosted by me. So it's, we really try to not be too self-promotional with it.
Yeah, good.
All right. Well, I think that's some good advice. I love it when we have some good advice in the social media sidebar. I appreciate that, Darryl. Cool. All right. So we're gonna come right back and we're gonna talk about PMRE and we're gonna have some action items to end this thing. All right. All right, Darryl Stringer, you are flying all the way from Brisbane, Australia to Las Vegas, Nevada to come to PMRE. That is a trip. So it better be worth it. What the heck are you going to be doing at PMRE? What are you talking about? What's all the stuff you're going to do?
Okay, so in terms of the presentation, the title of what I'm going to be speaking on is Building a Resilient Photography and Media Business in an Unpredictable World. So, yeah,
perfect.
So it's
that's wow. That sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah, it's a big topic, but I think it's an important one to kind of build into and sort of use. So, I mean, we obviously know that there's a lot of crazy stuff going on that's impacting on real estate media companies. So it's a matter of like, obviously, we need to be alert to what's happening in that regard today. We also need to be aware of what's possible in the years ahead, and making smart business decisions around that kind of stuff is really good. But much of what is ahead of us is is, by nature, unpredictable. We just don't know what's actually really going to happen. So I think the best thing that we can actually do then is just to invest our time into something that is entirely predictable, and that's ourselves. So, and our businesses.
Oh.
So
well, speak for yourself. I'm very unpredictable.
Well, I think we can still control. I'm just going to move on from there. We control what we do. And so that's the only thing that we can control. So that's why I really wouldn't waste too much time on the things that are outside of our control. We just can't do anything about what's going on out there anyway. All we can do is just give 100% towards setting up and doing business that attracts the kind of people that we want to work with, and also the kind of work that we want to do. So what we're going to do during my presentation is first of all, help each photographer identify what's really important for them. And that's going to be different for everyone. Then we're going to talk about what it means to focus on the things that we control and not get distracted by all the noise and all of the other crazy stuff that's easy to get sort of dragged away by. And then thirdly, we get clear on how that impacts on how photographers run their own business, how they manage their time, how they respond to the threats facing their business, both now and moving into the future. And then as they go through all of the other amazing sessions that are going to be happening at the PMRE Conference, they'll be able to pass what they learn through this filter of, well, first of all, what aligns with the direction they want to go with their business. And then secondly, by focusing on the things they control, I think they're going to see the opportunities that are in front of them rather than the barriers. We can often see like, oh, what's going to happen here? And that can kind of be a bit of a barrier and we kind of don't move a certain way. Whereas what we need to be seeing is the opportunities that are there. And I think if we do that, I think that will set photographers up really well to maximize this conference in terms of what they learn while they are there, and then the work that they then put in their business afterwards. So I think this talk together with the conference as a whole, I think it'll be really valuable. It would kind of flick a switch, I think, for a lot of photographers. I think a lot of us tend to focus too much on what other people want rather than on what we want. And so when we make that switch, I think it will not only make the photographer's work more enjoyable because we'll be doing the things that we actually love doing and brings a lot of joy to our work. I think it will help the photographers deliver the best work they've ever done because they'll be doing the things that they want to be doing, both creatively and personally as well. So that's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that really resonates with me because I presented last year and I really, talked about, it was more about scaling your business to have a better life. And that better life can mean anything for any of us, right? It's kind of figuring out what your big why is and then, structuring your business in such a way that you are finding that fulfillment. And so I think that really what you're saying really resonates with me. And I'm excited to hear your take on that. And I think, it doesn't sound like you're covering exactly what I covered. So I think there's, a lot of room. I mean, that topic could just go on for days and days and days. So I think there's a ton of room there. Well, that's going to bring a ton of value, but I think the even more unique this year for attendees and I don't think a presenter's ever done this, but the conference itself is November 8th and 9th, but you are going to be there on the 6th and 7th as well, I believe. And what are you going to be doing on those days?
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing free one-to-one little coaching sessions with anyone who's there and who attends. So we will sit down somewhere. I think they were talking about the Silverado Lounge. So we'll just take a seat.
Oh, the Silverado. Yeah, I know the Silverado Lounge. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And just go through similarly to what I just went through with you earlier, because going to some of these conferences, and I've been to many business conferences where you get all this great stuff in your head and there's awesome ideas and you see awesome people doing great things, but it's hard then to figure out how do I apply that within my own business.
Right.
So what I want to do is just actually be there on location, helping photographers go, well, okay, I saw this thing that this other photographer's doing, or I had this great idea. Is that going to work? Or how do I do this when I get back home again? And just try to help photographers get really well set up and clear on what they need to be working on to make the most of the things that they've learned and encountered while they're there.
Wow. Well, and then but do people need to book that time ahead of time? So, and how can they do that?
Yeah. So if they go to the workshops page on the conference website, they'll be able to find me listed there, and there will be link there through to my scheduling calendar, and they can just go through the calendar and look at available times and pick any time that kind of suits for them. And that's it. Then we'll just arrange to meet at that time on somewhere at the conference.
Wow, that's incredible, and it's free. And so you don't even. Yeah, I mean that's the crazy part, man. I think that is just a tremendous value. I'm not going to take a spot because I feel like we just had that. So I'm going to leave it for everybody else. But I think that's going to be incredibly popular. Now, have you been to one of the conferences before?
No, this is my first time to the States ever.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, and you're going to Las Vegas first. Well, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a window. It's definitely a window into America. So
yeah, I don't know if I'll leave far away from like South Point Casino. It's going to be pretty jam packed. So that's about all I'm going to see.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have a very interesting vision of what America is then, I think, and that's actually, that I really find that amazing. So that's great. Well, yeah, so you're not going to you're going to see a little bit more of Las Vegas, probably. Maybe. You might cruise down the strip or something.
Sure. We'll see what happens. Sure.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
That's right.
Yeah. But is there anything similar in Australia for real estate photographers or anyone to meet up?
No, not specific for real estate photographers. We have like photography generally things, but they're generally more about your weddings and portraits.
Sure.
There's nothing for what we do.
Right. Well, and it is kind of interesting because I just anecdotally from kind of seeing on on social media, it seems like so many of the videographers and photographers in Australia have always been kind of pushing the envelope on stylistically. I mean, I feel like there's a ton of good work coming out of Australia, and I don't know why that is in particular, but it's like, I think, people were doing the day to night transitions before anyone else down there. And I don't know, do you see a difference? I mean, do you think there's is there a reason why in Australia it feels like, or am I just crazy?
No, I think you're right. Professional real estate photography started here pretty early. So like I started in 1998,
right.
And it was, there were quite a few sort of people around doing that here, just shooting on film way sort of back then. I think it might have got so big here because of the high value of real estate here in the major capital cities.
Right.
So real estate really expanded. And I think perhaps, just thinking about the other thing then, the difference here is that it's the homeowners who pay for the marketing, not the real estate agents.
Oh, really? Oh.
So it's therefore a whole lot easier because the return then is so much bigger. So if you're selling like an $800,000 home and you're getting most of that $800,000, then it makes sense to spend $400 on professional video and photos. Whereas the real estate agent, like they make sort of 2.5, 2.8%. If they were paying for it, the money's still there, but it's not quite the same. So it makes it really easy then for agents to say, hey, we've got a photographer. We think you should get all of these services. And homeowners are obviously really proud of what they have in their home and they want it to look amazing and they want to look at make it look better than their neighbours. So that's why they'd be quite happy to spend a whole lot more. And so when you've got that marketing budget there, you can therefore push forward and do a lot more with your services.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because that's, that goes counter really to, the kind of marketing angle that we've really taken over the last couple of years, is where, we really have, think of ourselves as realtor marketing. We don't even think of ourselves as marketing real estate. And because we don't, and I've said it on this podcast a few times, but I'll say it again. When we're doing brokerage presentations, I talk about literally to them, I'm like, it's not about us selling this listing that we shot for you. We don't even care if it sells or what it sells for. Our metric of success is if you get another listing, right? That's when we know we've done a good job.
That's really good.
Because the house, if it's priced appropriately, is going to sell no matter what, right? Whether you have one photo or 100 photos or, whatever. But really then you are making the opposite argument. If you're having to pitch the homeowners, it's like, you're going to get more value for, you're going to, if you spend $1,000 with us, well, you're probably going to see a return of $10,000 to $20,000.
Yeah. But it's the agent making that sell, and the agent knows that the good marketing helps them. Yeah,
right. They're really incentivized to.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So they're pushing really hard to get the best marketing campaign because they know it brings more listings, to your point.
Well, but do they ever cover can homeowners negotiate that into the deal for the agent to pay for the photos? Because I feel like
there are some agencies that will include the marketing fee. They tend to be the ones that go for the budget services,
right?
Which is kind of funny.
Right.
But no, typically it's the homeowner paying for everything. It can be quite expensive for them to get, because they have to pay for not just the marketing, and then there's the listing on the major websites here, which can be quite expensive to list on. So the marketing budget needs to be, or can be, quite high for the homeowner, and they generally pay for it.
Well, but then are they, typically, because I think here the rule of thumb is that you're paying, even though the commissions are completely negotiable and there's no standard, is what the agents say to me. But I think it's typically 5%, and it's 2.5% to the selling agent, 2.5% to the buyer's agent. Is that a similar commission rate to what is normal in Australia?
Yeah, except we don't have too many buyer's agents. So normally the homeowner works directly with the selling agent. So therefore there's just the selling agent fee, which is in the region of sort of 2.5%, 2.8%, and that's it. So.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Yeah. So the commission is half. So then, that makes sense. So it's probably actually still, even if you're paying for all these other things, especially as home prices are creeping up and up and up, it's probably still cheaper. It costs you less in Australia to sell your house than it would in the States, where, all those marketing services are included, but, it probably doesn't hit 5% of the total value of the house.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's really, really interesting. Well, yeah, that makes sense then because you've been doing it. So you used to shoot on film.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, what was that like?
Oh, that was lots of time spent waiting around at shopping malls for film to be processed. So like in terms of efficiency was like 0. So it was really hard.
Well, and then what would you do? So you would get the negatives back and then you would make prints off that, or what? Actually, what was the process like? I don't know. We usually don't talk about tech stuff on this podcast, but I actually find this kind of interesting to talk to someone who was doing it back then.
So initially it was, it was just like 6-inch by 4-inch prints that we would get back. And then they started providing scans of them around sort of maybe 2000. So then we'd get the prints and we'd get the CD from the printing lab. And I think we would then copy the files off the CD onto something else to transfer it to another CD to send to the agent. And then we would physically drop it off at their office and then go on to the next one.
Oh my goodness.
When digital came along, we switched to digital in 2003, and that was a godsend. That was the best thing ever.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, well, but at the same time, the logistics of it were hard, but then you weren't really, there was nothing you could really do in post. Like you weren't, erasing trash cans, and you weren't, you couldn't futz with all the stuff. So you really had to make sure that you were getting in camera, you were getting what you needed in camera.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yep. That's right.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm glad those days were done, but it was a good learning experience. And if going back to what you said earlier, every day we're in their offices making face-to-face connections with our clients and with others in the office. So in terms of relationship building, it was a dream. So pros and cons.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, and that's what, actually, for, as we're growing our business, as I've stepped back from, shooting so much, is I have, I really have to go to those networking events, because otherwise I have no face time with clients. And, and I'm like, within our company, the best salesman. So I really need to be like actually talking to people. And so, we've really done, and we kind of went off the rails over the summer because, you have a kid and just summer gets away from you, but, I've been trying to take clients out for lunch and, go to all the networking events. But, that is the thing that I miss, is having that FaceTime with the clients. And, and I've just noticed, even just on the few shoots I've done lately, I get to have that connection, and then, already it feels like, we're getting more from that than I think when I'm out shooting, I bring more value than if we had an employee out shooting. And the same with Mark, and Mark is still out shooting a lot, and he can schmooze the clients. So, that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definite value there for sure. It can be hard work, but it's a good move.
Yeah. In fact, I almost have to buffer in, 15 minutes of, talking with clients in the schedule to make sure that if I am tight, have tight appointments, I need to have that time to be able to actually, do my spiel and shtick with the realtor. Do you miss shooting?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's nice to get out when I can. I very rarely do, but yeah, I do miss it a lot.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting. But shooting architecture specifically, or, I mean, when you go out shooting, what do you shoot now?
Oh, not a lot. So, I'm certainly not shooting homes and things. Right. It's more just personal projects, maybe landscapes, family portraits, just as in my own family, things like that. So. All
right. All right. Well, I think, let's do some action items. This one feels like a cop out. I'm going to go first. Cause I know yours is going to be awesome. So, well, mine is awesome too. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, especially when you hear what it is. And it does feel like a cop out, but I think, my God, what an opportunity. And this is specifically for people who are going to PMRE, but here's the action item. Get there early so you can get in and get one of Darryl's coaching sessions. I think that, do yourself a favor, because having that valuable one-on-one time with someone who is experienced and as thorough, and you saw the questions he was asking me, and, there were a few moments where I had to actually really think about it. And as you guys know from listening to the podcast, we think about our business all the time. And, and I think Darryl was framing it in a way, that I hadn't necessarily, always taken the time to think about that way. So, I could already see a tremendous amount of value there. So if you can get to Las Vegas a day or two early, you're going to be able to have the free opportunity to sit down with Darryl for half an hour. So I really highly encourage you to take that opportunity. All right, Darryl.
Thank you. That was very generous of you. I will be there on the Friday as well, and I will have some spots through the Wednesday and Thursday. Okay. So there's plenty of opportunity.
So it's not just the 2 days before ahead of time.
Yeah, okay. I'll be there I'll make myself available from even from the Monday through to the Friday.
Oh, okay. Wow. Incredible. Incredible.
Okay. Quick action item. I think it goes back to kind of related to what you were talking about earlier as well. I think you were really good with this. Invest in your business. So whether that's going to the PMRE conference, whether it's hiring another team member, as you were speaking about doing potentially, whether it's hiring a business coach, whatever it is, all of those things will deliver a really strong ROI. I think it's really funny that photographers can complain about clients who don't want to pay for services that we know would help our clients. But then we kind of do the same thing with our own business when we try to do everything on the cheap. So don't go cheap.
We're all a bunch of hypocrites. I mean, it's just human nature. I think it's human nature.
It is. So I think, invest in your business. It will come back to you for sure.
All right. And that doesn't have to be a financial. I mean, it can be financial, of course, but it can also just be emotional capital, time capital, all the, there's lots of different capitals that you can invest back into your business. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. All right, Darryl, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I'm excited to get to know you a little better at PMRE. I'm excited that you are going to set foot in America in Las Vegas and live at South Point Casino. That tickles me to no end. And Darryl, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time. Really appreciate your kind words of advice and encouragement. And we're looking forward to seeing you. And thank you everyone for listening. And let's see you at PMRE. Use the code Upmarket 75 through the end of September to get $75 off your ticket. Thank you. Upmarket is a production of Upmarket Studios. This episode was produced by Chelsea Froelich and edited by Bethany Diedrich. Thank you so much for listening, and we really hope you listen to the next one too. In the meantime, our wish for you is to not have to shoot any Friday night Twilight shoots. Thank you for everything.